the health authority will pay under NHS indemnity. If you do this thing for us, Phil, it won't go unnoticed. We will see you right for all the plum jobs. We promise you, no one will touch you for this.
But if you don't, you'll have to pick up the pieces without our help. Not a good position for a young doctor to be in. But I know you trust us, Phil. I know because you're one of us.
So what are you going to do with your life now?
Goodness knows. Well, tomorrow I've got a meeting with some people who recruit former doctors.
You mean conscientious objectors, bedwetters, losers and wasters? So you don't regret leaving?
I believe that medicine can help people. I believe in the National Health Service. I just hate the runners who run it. So what do you regret, then?
I wonder if Charlotte and I should have had children.
I swear by Almighty God that the evidence which I shall give be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
You are Dr. Philip John Kirkby?
Yes, I am.
Speak up, please.
Yes, ma'am, I am.
In what capacity did you attend Geoffrey McIntyre on the evening of December 25th, Christmas Day?
I was the house officer on call. I was asked to give Mr. McIntyre his chemotherapy.
How long had you been on duty?
36 hours.
And with what amount of break time?
None.
No sleep?
No.
This is normal practice?
Yes.
So after 36 hours of being on duty, with no breaks, no opportunity to rest, you went ahead and made up Geoffrey McIntyre's chemotherapy?
Yes, ma'am.
This was one of your usual duties?
No. The junior doctors are only expected to make up the chemotherapy if it needs doing out of hours.
What training have you had in this procedure?
None.
Were you fully confident of what you were doing?
Not quite sure, ma'am.
Did you ask anyone to corroborate that you were following correct procedure?
No. Hospital policy forbids the nurses from checking chemotherapy.
Examination of the materials and fluids you used when mixing the chemotherapy suggested that an incorrect dilution had been made. Do you dispute this evidence?
No.
We will hear written testimony from a number of sources who assert that an injection of such an over-concentrated solution could prove fatal.
I am Mary Withers. I was the duty pharmacist on December the 25th. Dr. Kirkby asked me to come to the hospital to perform a task which is excluded by my job description. I have the written statement of my head of department.
This document has been supplied to all interested parties and is not contested. I admit it in evidence under Rule 37. It states that the reconstitution of chemotherapy is not considered an appropriate on-call duty. Dr. Kirkby has informed us that the doctors receive no formal training in handling chemotherapy. Do you?
Yes, ma'am, I have.
What safety equipment is provided for you when you work with chemotherapy drugs?
We have a flow guard cupboard to protect us from fumes, visors, gloves.
To your knowledge, is this equipment provided for the doctors when they handle chemotherapy?
No, ma'am.
All efforts at resuscitation were unsuccessful, and I pronounced Mr. McIntyre dead at 8:55 p.m.
Thank you, Dr. Collin. In your testimony, you stated that Dr. Kirkby contacted you for advice.
Yes, ma'am.
In my recollection, Dr. Kirkby omitted this detail from his own testimony. You may step down, Dr. Collin. I would like to recall Dr. Kirkby. Dr. Kirkby, may I remind you, you remain under oath. Did you seek advice from senior colleagues in the case of Geoffrey McIntyre?
Well, yes. In the first instant, I contacted Dr. Collin, the senior house officer, who was himself unfamiliar with chemotherapy, and he suggested that I contacted the pharmacist.
Did you speak with Dr. Collin again before you went ahead with the chemotherapy?
No.
Did you contact anyone else? Well, who might you have contacted?
Dr. Turner, the consultant on call.
Had Dr. Turner ever given you the impression that he would respond unfavorably if you asked him for assistance?
No.
Dr. Kirkby, I'm sure you realize housemen are encouraged to seek guidance from senior doctors. Yours is a training post. And therefore, if a more senior colleague sanctioned one of your actions, the responsibility will be his. Dr. Kirkby, did you contact Dr. Turner?
No.
Thank you. Both Dr. Kirkby and Dr. Collin have related the events surrounding the death of Mr. McIntyre. We have also heard written testimony from the pathologist, Professor Lester, who cites the most likely cause of death as anaphylactic shock due to incorrect reconstitution of chemotherapy. Can you offer an alternative explanation, Dr. Yates?
No, Mum. To my regret, I cannot. But I want to say that I believe that it would be unjust if the outcome of today's hearing is to single out an individual for blame. Now, the broader culprit is the training of and expectations placed on junior hospital doctors.
In summary, we have heard how a tired and inexperienced houseman, Dr. Kirkby, made an error in mixing a solution of a chemotherapy drug which proved fatal to Geoffrey McIntyre on the evening of December 25th. We have heard that Dr. Kirkby had received no formal training in handling chemotherapy, and how his endeavors to obtain assistance proved unsuccessful. Primum non nocere. First, do no harm, is an age-old maxim of medical practice.